I want to bring in Stefano Ritondale. He's an Army veteran and chief intelligence officer of the intelligence firm Artorias, and also runs All Source News, which has a very important specialty for this conversation. It specializes in coverage of Mexican cartels, which is a very bespoke kind of journalism. So I'm very glad to have you with us, Stephano. Tell my audience what the Jalisco cartel is, who this leader El Mencho was, and how significant this may be.
Well, first, Mencho, thank you so much for having me. The Jalisco New Generation cartel, it's only been in existence for about just over a decade. And it was created and founded by El Mencho, the leader who was killed yesterday. And in a decade time, in just over a little over 10 years, from an unknown group, he made it into the most powerful Mexican cartel that we see right now currently active. And even to many points, I would make the argument it is the most powerful criminal organization in the world. CJNG, or Jalisco New Generation Cartel as it's known, has a presence in over 40 countries per the latest DEA threat intelligence assessment that we have available. And he has dominated the cocaine trade. He has been involved in avocado and lime smuggling into the United States and has made multi-billion-dollar industries for stealing Mexican oil. And Jalisco New Generation Cartel is active in many states of Mexico and is also very extremely violent, as we saw yesterday.
Did it surprise you when the news came yesterday that there was this raid, that they got away briefly, but then they died as a result of gunfire with Mexican authorities, how the whole thing went down?
To be honest, this actually came as a shock for a lot of people who were tracking Mexico and Mexican cartels. And Mencho was basically one of those views that in many aspects, because of his power and his reach and his ability to spread violence across Mexico, was viewed as almost untouchable. And so when the news broke, it became pretty shocking. But to be honest, Major, when we started to see the levels of violence impacting such a large swath of Mexico, it became pretty clear that there's very few figures that can do that. And the number one in the top of mind of everybody was El Mencho. And then we got the confirmation, and it really made the explanation clear why violence exploded so much.
So I've been reading about this all day, Stephano, and I mentioned this in the intro to this show tonight. No precedent within Mexico of waging a two-front war against cartels. As I mentioned, Sinaloa in the north, Jalisco in the south. What are the Mexican authorities bracing for? What are they up against in the next couple of days, weeks, months?
Right. So the Sinaloa cartel, for example, they're in an active civil war, and that's causing a lot of violence in large sections of Sinaloa, Sonora, and even in Durango. And what we're actually seeing is one of the factions of the Sinaloa cartel has an alliance now with the Jalisco New Generation cartel, and that's causing violence to really go up across Mexico, even before yesterday's death of El Mencho. Sinaloa itself saw over 400% increase in homicides in the state for kind of the latest data that we have. Violence has been going up in Mexico, and we're seeing it in a much more militarized fashion than most people are probably used to. But the Mexican government clearly is trying to get the situation under control. The operation yesterday against El Mencho sends a message that they are willing to take the Mexican cartels. And I think that's a message also to the Trump administration saying, we can take El Mencho, give us the intelligence support, but do not do unilateral strikes because we want to handle it. Just give us intelligence and we'll do it on our own.
Pick up on that point about the importance of U.S. intelligence as something to supplement what the Mexicans knew or give them something they didn't know in order to carry this out.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, the intelligence aspect, obviously, there's probably areas that the Mexicans are aware, and obviously we have capabilities that the Mexicans won't have, specifically signal intelligence and imagery capabilities that we obviously give to the Mexicans and make them much more successful. We've seen a huge surge in intelligence assets over Mexico, such as drones, P-8, Poseidons, aircrafts that really provide a lot of intelligence to the Mexicans for them to execute. And more importantly, a lot of the Mexican units that are really tasked with these high-value target operations are vetted by the U.S. government, and they have a long history of working with U.S. law enforcement or military personnel, either the FBI or DEA or even the U.S. military. And these vetted units are the ones that generally are used to conduct these high-value targets, such as the operation that led to the death of El Mencho. Those guys are trained by the U.S., those guys are funded by the U.S., and they receive intelligence by the U.S., and that's why it was so successful.
Very quickly, Stephano, last question. I've read today that, yes, you can take out the kingpin, but often these are multi-layered organizations, the cartels, and the middle is sometimes just as important as the top. Evaluate that.
Yes, and this for Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Now that Mencho is dead, that's what I'm looking for this week. Who is going to succeed him? There's various names going up. One of them is his right-hand man known as 03. But as you alluded to, it's some of these regional leaders that we all have to keep an eye on. And the question is there going to be a coalescing and agreement in who is the leader? Is it going to be, let's say, one of the regional leaders as El Jardinero, who's a key gunman and a key figure within the organization? Do they all agree and coalesce around it? Or do you see a split? And then when splits happens is generally when civil war within cartels happen. And that's unfortunately causes violence to just go up. So those are the key aspects I'm looking into. The middlemen are very key in this to see if the cartel continues to operate as nothing changes or a civil war happens and violence goes up.
Stefano Ritondale, I appreciate the expertise and the time very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.